Okay, well, welcome, Melissa Henry. Melissa from Hell of a Brand is here to discuss with us the critical importance of creating your brand, whether you're an author or a speaker or heck, just about anyone trying to exist in today's world. I was just talking to someone the other day, Melissa, who has said, what personal brand is everything in this day and age. And I
Yeah.
just know that we have thousands, not for the best reasons, but there are thousands and thousands of people who are just getting laid off. There are people who are, really unhappy with academia. They're unhappy with the healthcare system. They are, you know, laid off federal workers. I mean, they're
Yeah.
nonprofits who've lost their funding. I mean, it's
Yes.
terrible.
Yes.
And it's like there is hope if you can learn to build a brand around your expertise. And this is what I see a lot of the authors who come to your best-selling book. This is exactly what they're trying to do. And so the reason they're writing a book, I mean, also there's the legacy, I mean, which is so valuable, something tangible
Yeah.
to leave behind, right? And there's also the healing aspect of digging into your stuff and realizing the lessons you've learned. But
Hmm.
really, so much at the core of the author journey is the desire to have a personal brand. So I am
Hmm.
so excited to be speaking with Melissa today because Melissa has 16 years of experience as an entrepreneur working with people like you, like our following, people at your best-selling book to help them build their personal brands. This is her wheelhouse. This is her area of expertise. And stick with us because we're going to ask her some questions about how you can successfully build your personal brand. And she's also going to do a live brand audit of my website, which I'm like nervously excited, as Glennon Doyle says.
That's
I'm
awesome.
both nervous and excited about this
Yes.
because this is the brand audit will be happening. So stick around for that because I'm sure it will get you so much valuable information. So
Ooh.
thank you for being here today, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you, Maymay, for having me. This is really fun. I'm so pleased that we're able to have this time to talk through this because it's my favorite subject.
Well, I am excited to learn from you. So I think the way that we'll do this is that I will ask you some questions. We'll do it like kind of Q&A style,
Hmm.
and then we will turn it over to you for the brand audit.
All right.
So let's start with the big picture. And this is something that comes up all the time in my online course for your best-selling book. Why do you think so many brilliant authors struggle to get traction on their book once it's out there in the world?
Oh my God, you probably know the answer, right? I mean, and it's kind of the title of what we're doing here. But really like the biggest mistake that I see is that people assume that the book's going to do all of their heavy lifting. It's kind of like when they say, "Ooh, I'm going to write a book and that is going to put me on the map." Right? But the book by
This is
itself,
exactly it. That is
yes,
exactly so well said.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And so they expect this book to kind of open the doors for them. But unless you've actually been cultivating a presence of your own outside of the book, like the picture that is you, unless you've been already been doing that, the book is just that. It's just a book and it doesn't actually open the doors that you really want. So that's why we're here to talk about this today with the personal branding piece, because and even actually before I give you like a fuller answer to that question, I think the biggest thing that we need to be asking ourselves as authors, I am an author, by the way. There's a book behind me here. Anyway, yes. Well, I was in a collaborative book. So it's not my own book. That's coming. So I do know this world. I do know what I'm talking about, at least from that perspective too. And the one thing you have to ask yourself, and this is what I asked myself when I went into the into this collaborative project, what do I want this book to do for me? Like, what is that first thing that you're like, why are you writing this? Because if it's to do things like, hey, I want to get on stages, because a lot of people use books to get on stages, right? So if it's that, then you know, okay, so there's a path, a trajectory, there's a strategy behind this. If it's to grow your business, if it's to launch a movement, what is it exactly? When you do that, you get clarity around like how you're going to start building your personal brand. Because there's, as I said, a path, a direction, a strategy. And when you do that, you can start to look at what's my messaging going to be? How am I going to look? Like, how am I going to show up in my visuals? Where am I going to show up? Who am I going to talk to? All of these things start to become a little bit more clear. So that's the thing. That's what we're looking to do here is to build something that where we know like the end in mind and then how are we going to get there. So without that, there's no direction. Your book ends up just being like a project that you did. And it was like, that's great. And it sits on your shelf behind you. And maybe when you're on networking calls, you get to hold it up. But otherwise, why are you doing this? That's really the biggest thing around this. Wouldn't you agree?
I'm so happy to hear you say that, Melissa, because the first thing that I teach in your best-selling book is your who, what, why, which is who are you writing the book for?
Yep.
I find that a lot of people too, they start thinking about who am I, what's my expertise, without thinking about who am I writing the book for, who is my reader, why am I the person to write the book? That's where your expertise come in. But
Yes.
also, why are you doing it? That is so core. I mean, and I just laid out some of those reasons too, right? Because the grandma who like literally had four grandmas in one of my cohorts of your
Oh
best-selling
my
book,
God, that's
the
amazing.
grandmas they were amazing. I love them to pieces. Like they didn't care about building their personal brand, right? I
Mm-mm.
mean, but they wanted this to hand to their children and grandchildren so that they would know their stories. And that's very different than the person who you're talking about and who most of our clientele is, which is, yeah, they want to get on the stage. They want to attract more clients. They want to attract higher income clients.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be seen as a thought leader. They want to be interviewed in the press, right?
Yes.
So that's great to hear that there's a total synergy of that being a first question that you ask as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's 100%. And the thing is, even, and I'm so glad that you do it inside of your program because, like, the way you would even write the book would change. Because if you're writing it for you, that's like, I don't know why anybody would read your book if you're just writing it for you, right? Because you're the audience and that's it, right? But if you're writing it for someone and for a purpose, that changes your whole aspect of even how you would deliver that message in your book.
So what comes next? And I'd like to actually let me ask another question first because this
Okay.
this is one thing that I find this term personal branding is bandied about a lot these days. As I was
Yes.
saying, I find that right, like there are
Yeah.
many thought leaders now saying you have to have a personal brand. Everything is personal brand. What does
Yeah.
that mean? What does that even mean? What is it?
Okay. So this one is really funny because I do have people actually will come to me and they'll say, look, I'm not a brand. I'm not this product, right? Like you can't put me in this box, right? And it isn't, and I think they just use the term as a way of making a shorthand for what we're trying to do here. So let's not get caught up too much in the term. What we're talking about here is building a reputation, right? So I like to sometimes use the word reputation in place of personal brand because that's really what it is. It's not this big intimidating thing. It's just very simple. And what does that mean? You can have a reputation without doing anything, like without doing anything intentional. Let's put it that way. Like you could go out and like just be yourself and be authentically you, which by the way is what people will tell you to do and I will say I don't 100% agree with that approach and said in that way that makes it too it's not clear to people and it's also not a good idea and I'll tell you why that about that in a minute but that's the idea. It's like, okay, so we're going to actually go out and instead of being haphazard about this, we're actually going to create something very intentional so that when you are not in the room and they're talking about you, they're actually saying the things you want them to say about you. Like, don't you want to go out and say, okay, I want to be known for this thing. So if I want to be known for that thing, how do I have to show up? Like, how do I have to dress? How do I have to, like, where do I have to show up? Like, should I be on podcasts like we're doing, right? Or should I, be on a stage in front of a particular audience? There's so many components of that that you now get to actually develop and show up in those ways that you really want to, that are intentional, not haphazard, not I just feel like throwing on a t-shirt today. That should be okay because that's authentically me. Maybe it is. But why are you doing that? Right? So
I
it's like,
mean, I love this because I'm a wordsmith, obviously. I'm an author.
yes.
Like, I love this substitution of personal brand for reputation. Thank you for that. I'm going to do that from now on.
Yes.
That fits so much better with my psychology.
Good.
Like that is something that I feel like will really resonate with a lot of authors. So thank you for that.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing too is like I think people when they use that term, it's kind of this marketing fluffy sounding thing, right?
That's it. That's what I was saying. Like,
It's
what does it even mean? Like, it's
yeah,
not concrete. It's not tangible. I don't get it?
yes. Well, and we can talk about this in a little bit more detail later if you want to dig into
Okay.
that, but like what I'm saying when I say create this thing, because I've not been very clear either up until this moment. And what I'm saying is if you are trying to do something like, let's say you want to use your book to get on stages, okay, what stages? Like these are the things you're going to figure out, okay? What stages? What people are in the audience? What do you want out of that? Like what do you want to lead to the next thing? What are you wanting to be known for? What do you have a signature way of delivering a service? Like those kinds of things are part of a brand. So it's the ideal client, it's the positioning in your marketplace, why you versus someone else. It's the have you developed something that can be trademarkable potentially? That's valuable, but that comes from you, right? You've created this signature process. It's also, what are your values? Like, how do you want to show up as this person, right? What's this big vision that you have for like what you're going to create in the world? What is the mission? Like, how are you actually making that happen? All of these components actually they're part of a brand. And so this branding process, it's not just for products. It's not just for big corporations. There is a very similar way of defining all of them. And that there's a process to do that and a methodology to do that. So when I say intentional personal branding, I'm saying we have an actual methodology to create it with you and for you. There are steps, they're
And
tangible, actual steps that we go through.
and that's what you take your clients through when you help them. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And it is, people have said, wow, this feels like therapy. And I'm like, but like in a good way, right?
Right.
and
Right.
and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of is because it's not like this weird amorphous like entity. This is you. So yeah, we're gonna go deep. But that's so necessary to get something super powerful. And like you are a thumbprint. There's nobody else like you. So we have to show up in that way to where like nobody can replicate you. Like you are you. And there's nobody that can show up differently or sorry, the same. They're always going to show up something, even if they tried to like copy you, they would just look weird, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I love that. So I, I think what you've started to tap into this a little bit, but I'm curious what some of the main myths are around personal branding. And like one of them that I think you mentioned that I'd love to revisit is
sure.
the myth that you should just be you. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the myth that you should just be you. Okay. So I will say it in a couple of ways. I'm not saying you should be not you. Like, I'm not saying you should create something that really is kind of, again, this amorphous like entity or something like that. That's not right either. But there is a fine line between, this authenticity where you are like, I'm gonna show up like without a shower and in my bathrobe. And, you don't need to get that authentic with this. Actually, what I'm saying is, and especially for authors, especially for people who are trying to get on stages and all of these things, you get to show up like you, but like the best version of you. Like, don't you love it when you get dressed up? Well, maybe not everybody, but like you get dressed up and you go to like, I don't know, this beautiful like ball and you feel really good because you know you look your best. You're like, ah, I'm awesome. Now you're not going to be anybody different in like necessarily. You're not going to show up there as somebody different, but you're going to feel confident. You're going to feel like you're in your element and you're just going to be, it's just going to be like this amazing experience for you because of how you feel inside. That's sometimes how people do feel when they have this brand dialed in. They actually they go, "Oh my God, like I have this client right now." And I just wrote about it. I just sent a newsletter out today to my group to tell them about the story. What she said was, "Oh my God, I haven't felt like this ever." She said, "I have pieces of paper all over my house with ideas written on them because of what we tapped into. That's my own thing. It's all me." And now it's like
Mm.
I've cracked open my brain with all these ideas. And I was like, yes, because it is you. We pulled it out of you and nobody else can have it. It's yours. And imagine that kind of
That's so
confidence.
beautiful.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, what a gift. How beautiful. And
Yeah.
it's like you said, it's not, I mean, there's a way in which, approaching our work and our career, we want to have that confidence. We do put on the outfit, right? The work
Yes.
outfit.
Yes.
And that can bestow a level of confidence. So I also love this analogy of your brand as like your career power suit outfit.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing too, is like you'll know what outfit it is once you've done the work, right? You can't like otherwise you're spitballing. It's like showing up in your closet and you're going, well, I don't know. I don't even know what the dress code is. Like, should I wear shorts or should I grab my ball gown? I don't know. And that's the approach people are taking when they're going out into the market and they're trying to market themselves. They literally don't have any idea what to say.
Wow.
They don't. And that's what you need. You need this stuff behind the scenes, the foundational stuff that will help you actually create the messaging, that will help you actually reach the right people, that will help them get into your world that you can then actually have sales calls with and bring in as clients. This is what this is all about.
Is there anything else? Are there any other mistakes or myths that you want to share with us?
Oh, I got a lot. How much time do we got? Tell me. Because like,
Give us another
ah,
juicy one.
I got
Yeah.
one. This
Okay.
is perfect for your authors. People will
Okay.
say, I gotta wait to brand until my book is finished.
Amen to that. Yes. Another
Yeah.
lesson number one. When's the right time to start worrying about marketing my book? The day you decide to start writing
That's
it.
exactly right. And please know that the marketing piece, this is what is so key for people to understand because in my industry, people don't get it. Sorry, in my industry, they do get it. People outside my industry don't. And that is that marketing and branding are like this. They are related. They are not the same thing. So it's like okay, maybe I should just talk about this metaphor again. You don't know, like if you don't know your destination, you can't get there, right? So destination, my book, I want my book to get me on stages. Well, let's dial it all the way back to the beginning of how do I begin starting that process of planning it. The brand strategy is the plan. It's the like, okay, let's see where do I want to go? How long do I want to be there? How do I want to, like, do I want to be in a hotel? Do I want to be in an Airbnb? Like, how do I want to do that? Do I want to rent a car? I'm not really sure. You get all of these things, and then you've come up with this plan. This is what I want my vacation to look like. And that's the brand. This is what I want it all to look like. And it gives you these feelings like, oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to do that. Now, the marketing, you can say that piece of that is okay, how do I get to the airport? How am I going to fly there? Like it's all the tactical, and there's still a strategy there, but that's not what the brand is. So I hope that's helpful. I literally just came up with that metaphor right now as we're standing here. I've never used
I
it
love
before,
it. I love
but
it. And
that's,
you're packing your suitcase, and are you bringing bikinis and sun hats and sunscreen, or are you bringing
yes,
like Patagonia puffy and wool hat?
yes.
We're
So, yeah, so
right.
hopefully the people see that and they'll say, oh, I have to market my book. And it's like, yeah, you do, but you can't know what the tactics are yet until we understand a whole lot more about where you're headed and all of these other components I've already told you about, which I'm not going to like keep beating a dead horse on.
Right.
But it's just so funny to me. It's like, what are you going to do when your book launches? Who are you going to launch it to? If you haven't set this stuff up, there's no one there to buy your book. You got to start doing it. And oh my God, this sounds like I'm as I'm saying it to you, I'm thinking, oh my God, everybody's going, oh, this sounds like so like horrible. This sounds so heavy. It's not meant to be heavy at all. This gets to be fun. And you know, if you need help, like reach out.
I mean, I do appreciate that because I find that I myself will have that reaction, and a lot of people I work with have that
Yeah.
reaction where the gut instinct is like, oh God, no, it's so much work, like
Yeah.
it's overwhelm, right? And
Overwhelm.
so it's wonderful that you can be there to support people and take people on a step-by-step journey.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
fun.
And
Like you said, that's fun and gives
yeah,
you
it gets
confidence
to
and
be
is
fun.
diving. And guess what? It's diving into your story, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's what's your story? Why are you here? How did you get here?
hmm
Where are
hmm
you trying to take people, right?
Yeah, and I think too there's excitement around it too because you start to think about things or get ideas that maybe you never had before because you never tapped into those things that actually could really create something way bigger than what you even thought with when you first started it. So it's pretty incredible. I've seen that happen a lot.
I would imagine that part of branding too is it's also knowing where to meet your audience, like where to go back to your travel analogy.
Yeah.
Is your audience at the beach in Hawaii or is your
Yeah.
audience skiing in Colorado?
hmm
Like, don't go to Colorado if your audience is on the beach. Is that part of branding too? Is kind of figuring out
Yes.
who your
Okay.
audience is and what, like, not just you, but who your audience
Yes.
is?
Yes, and thank you
Okay.
for bringing that up and
Okay.
queuing that up for me because let me tell you, um, so this is the one area where everyone, I don't care who they are, and hint, I'm going to tell you a little bit that this for you a little bit later, not in a bad way, but everyone does it. And I am not immune to this. This is what I did too. And that is, hey, I want to help everyone and I can help everyone. And so then when someone comes to you and says, "Well, hey, I'd love to, introduce you to somebody," or like, "Hey, I could see if I could send a client your way," and you're telling them, "Yeah, just, anybody who feels like they need this." Oh my God, I don't know anyone like that. My mind goes blank. But if you said to me, I work very closely with moms who have autistic children or children on a spectrum and I help them do this thing. Like maybe it's I help them manage their household so that they can spend more time with their kids or with their child, whatever. That gets me super hyper focused. Okay, I'm looking for moms who have kids on the spectrum. You know what? I do know someone. That's my neighbor. And maybe I could make that introduction. It's way better than, yeah, I just help, people in their general lives, like make sure that like they can manage their household. I don't know, everybody could do that. I don't know who to introduce you to. So at its very core, wouldn't it be very much more powerful to you to have someone introduce you to someone very specific that you could absolutely help, right? I mean, don't you think you get a hell of a lot more introductions, a heck of a lot more people coming your way because they know your message? And when you do that, all this other stuff opens up too. Like we talked about messaging or what people will say in social media and things like that. Don't you think that your social media copy will be that much more dialed in when you know the events going on in the lives of that specific kind of person? Because they have different events going on in their lives
Mhm.
than someone else who's a single person who has maybe an apartment versus this mom who has a whole household to run and also to, attend to the needs of her child. So, man, and imagine how deep those messages can go too. Like how powerful you could get with your messaging. And it's just it means more to that person. So I'm getting all choked up over here, but that's what I'm saying. Like that
Yeah.
particular thing, and I think I've lost the exact question you had, but hopefully I've answered it. That is so key to understanding who it is that you're talking to and at a very deep level.
Yeah, so interesting. No, that was the question was how you think about the audience, not just who you are and who your brand is, but who are you speaking to?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And where to
Absolutely.
find them. So,
Hmm.
I mean, this is obvious question, and I don't know how much you dive into it because this may fall more on the marketing side, PR marketing side.
Hmm.
That's the other top question that authors have when they come to me is like,
Yeah.
what do I do now? Ah, right. And I get it. I feel the same. There's no judgment there. But it's
Yeah.
like, do I start a podcast? Should I be posting to
Mm.
social media every day? Like, do I pay a PR firm, $32,000 to get me on some TV shows? Do I hire a digital branding expert who, I mean, we're like, do you dive into that at all in your work of kind of where you
Yeah. Yeah,
how you
absolutely.
reach people?
Right. Okay, that's a good question. I feel like there's a few things I could answer on that one. I've
Okay.
actually had PR. You know, Ashley has sent me people because they didn't have a brand. They wanted the PR, but they weren't quite ready for it. So that would answer your question right away if you went to a PR agent and they said to you, well, there's really not, and there's no platform there for me to actually amplify. You need to be able to have a platform to amplify. So that would give you that indication. But you know, really, it really does depend on where you are. Like, have you built that yet? If not, then we've got to start at a different level. And yes, we can sit with you and figure out what that looks like. Oftentimes, it is really setting up something that's very simple in nature that doesn't require a lot of tech, that really just gets people to understand who you are. And you can easily do this on a daily basis. When you have a very simple setup, then it's easier for you to stay consistent. I have made this problem in the past where I said I've got to have three different avenues to bring in clients. And every single one of those required a lot of back end, stuff. Like it required so many like steps and tech and keeping track and following up and all of these things. And what I realized, and I've done this so much so I can totally speak to it. I realized I'm burning myself out. I can't keep this up. And I wasn't none of the things I was doing were actually going very far either. So it really wasn't building a brand. So why don't we start with something that you love doing? Let's say it's speaking. If you are someone who likes to get up on stages, why don't you just spend all your time, not all, but as much of your time as you can to make that the most uh, dialed in funnel that you can. Like, why don't you set it up so that maybe you are reaching out like every day to different event planners, right? But that's the only thing you do, right? And obviously, if you are doing that, then you would have your speaker one sheet and you'd make sure it's really dialed in and focused. And you would work on who exactly is that audience and what exactly is my message and what exactly is my signature talk and all of these things. And then the next stage for you would be, okay, what do I want to do when I'm on the stage? How do I bring them into my world? Then that would be the next thing you would focus on. Now that you've got all this whole thing set up, you're just filling in the blanks for the next piece. But people just do this like well, I gotta get a website, I gotta get a logo, I gotta get PR, I gotta do blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, 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 blah. No, you
Yeah.
don't. No, you don't. And you're gonna spend a lot of money and you're gonna be real upset because none of it's gonna work. And until we spend some time dialing in those things we talked about earlier, much of that will be tough for you to do as well. So you got to spend time on these foundational things too.
So spending time on the personal brand and answering those questions helps you answer the question of where to focus your PR and marketing dollars. That is so
Absolutely.
valuable because
Yes.
I concur with you.
Hmm.
You can spend a lot of money. I
Uh-huh.
mean, it
Absolutely.
adds up really fast. So the
Yes.
idea of being really strategic to think again about who's your audience, where will you find them,
Hmm.
right? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yes. And here's one thing that people don't talk,
Mhm.
well, I don't know how to say this without just coming out and saying it. I have had so many people ask me, what's the ROI of branding? With
Mm,
an expectation that after having worked with me, they will immediately start, bringing in money. Now, what I will tell you is if they follow what I'm saying, they will, because there's strategy involved here, right? If you
yeah.
if you do the steps, if you actually do the work, you will
Yeah.
find the clients, right? So there's strategy here. But my point is this. Let's say you don't do the work. Let's say you just say, forget about me figuring out what my brand is. I'm just going to start throwing money at PR and see what happens. Guess how long it will take you to actually get the ROI from those marketing tactics? What will happen is you will run into a lot of brick walls. You will find that people don't get it. You don't get the sales calls on the books. You don't get on the stages you want to get on. You don't sell enough of your book, whatever it is. And then you go back and you say, well, what's wrong? What's broken? It's the brand. There's nothing there. It's built on a house of sand. So it's just like everything else. You've got to start with this, no matter where you think you're going to go, no matter what tactic, those elements need to be in place for it to work. And we do spend so much time like spitballing on different tactics. I've done it myself. I promise you I'm not. I said this before. I'm not immune to this. It's happened to me too. That's why I know. Like I will tell you my first year in business, I can't believe I did this, but I sunk $5,000. It wasn't that's not a lot, but at that time it was for me. So I sunk $5,000 into getting some media exposure, which was
Okay.
being featured on articles and things like that. And it was a nightmare of an experience for a variety of reasons, due to the person who was helping me with this. But aside from that, there was no ROI from that. None, because I was in the wrong places. I didn't have a message, and my clients weren't reading these articles. They weren't even there, and I didn't know that. And so that's my point. Don't waste your money on all of this stuff until you truly understand who you are, what your message is, who you're talking to, what your positioning is, what makes you different, all of these things, because then it will work.
Love that.
Thank you.
Um, okay, what am I missing here? Why do you think this work is more important now than ever?
Yeah, have you heard of AI? Yeah.
We we teach
Have you
it
heard
and
that?
use it in our course since it
Yes.
came
Yes,
out
you
after
do.
I launched my business and I was like, "Oh, well, this just going to change things." Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, that's one major thing right now because everyone's able to flood the market, flood the social media and such with all of this content, right? And much of it, if you're not doing it right, then much of it is kind of nonsensical or just it's not good content. Um, some people can make it work, so I'm not saying that that's out the window completely, but there's just a lot of noise, my point, okay? Lots of noise, lots of extra content, things like that. But I said before, you are a thumbprint. Nobody can replicate you. So what if you're showing up more as you, like you are doing more videos? You know, can AI replicate that? Almost. It almost can.
Almost.
But my point being is like you're showing up as you, authentically you, right? But you have this message. If you have everything dialed in, this is actually kind of a little, well, how am I gonna say this? This is like a little meta. So you could say that you could create a personal brand with the help of AI. Absolutely. The thing is, it's only giving you back what you put in. So if I go in and I try to use AI to create anything, if I don't know the stuff I just talked to you about, it just creates what it wants. I can't give it any direction. It's just going to go, well, let me just give you this, or let me just give you that. And then you're like down this rabbit hole of, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't sound like me. This is not my thought. This is not my POV. This is not, you know what I mean? All of those things. So you bring a certain sense of your soul to the things that you do. You bring your own credibility to the mat, right? Like you have your own set of experiences, your own education, the credentials that you've achieved over your time, awards and recognition, and all of these things, and your story, like the memories and things in your life, all that stuff, your personality traits, all of those things are you, not AI. And so why wouldn't you stand up right now and say, well, I better be me because otherwise I'm just going to get drowned out by everything else. It's just noise. So I don't know if that was a very clear way of explaining that, but I do think particularly with authors these days, oh my God, they can like people write books with the AI and all of this, but there's no story behind those books. There's no person. So
No, I
be
was
the
going to say
person.
it's the exact same thing that I tell people. And what you said about
Yes.
what you put into it is what you get out of it. You
Yeah.
could write a book in 15 minutes. I mean, I got an
Hmm.
advertisement the other day
Hmm.
for a company that's like, write your book in 15 minutes. Sure, you can have words on a page, but it's completely generic. There is nothing
Yes.
you in there. And
Absolutely.
only by you putting your stories, your soul, your lessons, then that with AI, sure, can it help you? Absolutely. It can
Yeah.
make your process so much faster and more efficient. It can help you brainstorm title ideas. It can help you structure it. But
Hmm.
if you just hand it over to AI, you're going to get an AI book, which is generic.
Yeah. I mean, and people can tell. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
it's great, but people
Oh,
can
heck
tell.
yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
I can tell. I can tell. But
Yeah. And then
also, it just doesn't
imagine,
have your story. It doesn't have your voice. It doesn't have your pizzazz, which is what you're talking about for a brand.
yes,
It's exactly the same. It's like, but what makes you uniquely you is
yes,
lost.
absolutely. And it's like I've
Yeah.
seen this happen too in like LinkedIn and things like that, where people use
Yeah.
AI to kind of respond to people's posts. And then you read it and you go, this looks like a rehash of what they said in the post. There's no point of view. There's no thought about why. There's no you, there's no personality. And so that's what I mean. You got to get out there and show the world who the heck you are, right?
All right. Well, let's do it. Are you
Oh,
ready to take me through
I
my
am.
brand?
If you are ready, I can do it. Okay, let me do
Okay.
this. Let me open up your sorry, I'm just going to close a couple things down here so I don't accidentally click on stuff you may not want to see. And
Me too. Let me go
one
here.
second while I find your site. I had it open a minute
And
ago.
then you can screen share if you want.
Sure. All right, let me grab that. There it is now. Ah, okay, I've got it. All right, here we go. Okay. You seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes.
Woohoo, there she is. Awesome. All right, so Maymay, before we begin, I want to ask you, what do you want this website to do?
So I want to completely redo it. This timing could not be better because I was just looking at it and I was like, oh my God, this is such a mess. I mean, really, now it is so much clearer what I want to do. I think the problem was I did this before I'd really launched your best-selling book.
Okay.
And so I was more in the life coaching direction and then also
Hmm.
ghostwriting and freelance editing. But now
Okay.
I'm the founding CEO of a company that helps people get their books done. And the
Yes.
life coaching thing is that's completely gone.
Aha. Well, I'm
And
glad that.
then
Go ahead. Tell me more.
yeah, and then maybe a page. I was thinking maybe a page on speaking. I mean, I don't think that's something that I'm going to actively pursue right now, given that I live in Hawaii and have two young children. But
Hmm.
so I was going to ask you about that. So I turn
Awesome.
over to you now. Now you know that I'm so ripe and ready for this.
I'm so glad to hear that. So I'm just paging through here to give anyone who's watching this, an idea of what the homepage is like. So you can kind of see I paged through the whole thing. So I'm glad that you talked or you told me about this life coach versus book. You call it book guru. I'm sure that's not really what you want to
Yeah.
say
No,
anymore. Um,
no.
so I guess what we'll do here, I understand that you're going to be creating something new. So I guess what I'll say is I'm going to just speak to just this and base it on what you just said you wanted to do. So,
Great.
okay,
Wonderful.
here's what I love. Okay, I love that you're using your name because you are the personal brand. And we can have a longer conversation about why you should brand yourself versus your company name and all of that stuff, but that's not what this is about. So I like that you did that.
Okay.
I even
Okay.
love this font for you. It's just you are so like a You're such a warm personality and you're so approachable, and that's what this font is telling me. The one thing I would say is that I can't really read it on the background of the screen.
Mm.
So you would
Mm-hmm.
need to be creating a background for the, like a some kind of a background for the actual font so that you can read it better or something like that. Some of these tabs also kind of fade a little bit into this greenery. So
Yeah.
there's some work to be
Yeah.
done there and if with the graphic design, but um, create the life you want. Now, when I read that, I'm not really sure why, like what's the problem you're solving for me exactly, and you haven't really called out who I am. So I know this part's really hard for people, like what the heck do I put initially, but it usually is something around a transformation, and it's something that kind of gives a hint to who the heck the transformation is for. So I like that it's a transformational statement. It's just, to me, I don't really know. It's a little vague, and it feels very common that people would say that.
Yeah.
The next thing I was going to talk about here was this. I was going to ask you if we maybe wanted to create a thread between the life coach and the book side of your business. But you've said already that you're going to, like, no, I'm not going to be doing life coaching anymore. So that's fine. But if someone out there is trying to create something where they've got two seemingly disparate offers, we've got to find out what the thread is between the two of them. And sometimes that
Mm.
thread is that they are the same client, just in different stages. So maybe you help someone on the initial
Mm.
stage of something and then you take them to this other stage. So it could be that if you were a life coach and a book coach, then what you're saying is, hey, I help people understand those life experiences first, and then the next part of our work together is actually memorializing them in a legacy book. Could be that,
Right.
right? So
Right.
that just is something to kind of note for people out there who are having trouble with making that connection. So easy to do that. One thing I love is everything's very you, like it's very personal, it's warm. And, you're smiling. This is all you. Like if I see this picture and then I get on a call with you, it's the same person. I love that. You did very well there. The only thing that I would say in addition to this is maybe if you are doing this work, up leveling some of the imagery here. Um, because I mean, let me back up. Do these images feel like the next level version of where you want to go? That's actually the first question I should ask.
I think the one in the pink jacket does. Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
anything that doesn't feel like that for you,
Yeah.
you need to probably think about replacing that with
Yeah.
something new. That's what I would go with.
Yeah.
You very cohesive in your visuals. I like that your jacket even actually matches the buttons on there,
Yeah.
so that's really cool. So I'm guessing that your color choice is this hot pink and then
Yeah.
the blue, right? This you have
Yeah.
this. I don't know if that's strategically placed, but that's interesting. Down here, you've got this sort of darker blue. So are those is that your color palette essentially,
Yeah, I mean, I
or did
guess
you?
I didn't really choose that, to be
Okay,
honest.
yeah,
I did with your best-selling book, like it was very deliberate that we went for
uh-huh.
like yellow, light blue, and dark blue with red
Hmm.
call to action buttons,
Okay,
because we wanted to go with kind of Hawaii colors.
nice.
And but hot pink has always been my signature color, and
Hmm.
so that was a natural, but didn't think through it and don't know if it should it be the same as your best-selling book when I redo this, right? Should I use that same color palette?
So I think it really depends on whether or not we're going to have one site or multiple sites and for what reasons. So if you're going to be sticking with the book theme, I think you can have one site, everything flows. You can have what we would call a sub brand. So, for example, you are the parent brand, you are the overarching
Yeah.
umbrella of everything you do. You can have sub brands underneath that have a slightly different spin, or like they're connected, but there may be, like, maybe in one brand you emphasize like the darker blue, you know like we just showed you, like the darker blue with the hot pink, and then in another one you might have a color that ties through. Maybe it is the hot pink and it's like the hot pink and the yellow or something like that. So that's the idea, is that you want to kind of keep them threaded and connected, so that people still understand that, hey, that is the same That's the same thing, but and it's related, but it's a little bit different, like a different offer, right?
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. I have notes over here. That's why I'm looking over here to just see where I can go with the next thing. Um, yeah, we talked a little bit about like this this statement. So I do want to know, and this is a question I have for you. If we were to niche down for you, what does that look like? Who is that?
Um, well, then it's really, I help you share your story with the world
Okay.
through writing your book.
What's transformational about that?
Um, your book is the key to unlocking many doors to taking your career to the next level, would probably be the message that I'm honing in on.
And why do people want to do that?
Freedom,
Mm,
freedom.
yes. So unlocking the
Yeah,
door to opportunities that bring you freedom,
yeah.
right? But who? For who?
It's professionals, entrepreneurs, professors, doctors.
Hmm. Are they different?
Um,
Is an entrepreneur different from a doctor or other professional?
no, because the doctors and the professors who come to my course, as I told you, it's because they want to leave. They've been in the womb of like academia or the healthcare system, and
Yeah.
they're just fed up because it's
Yeah.
all such a disaster right now
Hmm.
that they need to do their own thing. They're feeling that calling to like, I need to stand on my own 2 feet and have my own thing. Like I need to make an income, you know, consulting or coaching or speaking or,
So they are
so
professionals who,
getting our message into the world
yeah, yeah. So
on
they're
your, right?
on your own terms. I get that. Yes. And so, but
Yeah.
then they are, and we could probably go a little bit farther down this road, but just to kind of give you
Okay.
things, food for thought here, if they are professionals that are wanting to become entrepreneurs almost, right? Like they're going to be
Yeah.
launching this book for the purpose of actually creating something outside of this institution that they've been in. Now, if you frame it like that, and you create this transformational statement for them, you
Yeah.
don't have to actually say their name. You don't have to say for doctors and academics. You could
Interesting.
say, are you wanting to step outside of that institution that you've been in? Don't use the word institution. They might think,
Right.
mental institution, but you want to
Yeah.
step outside of this world that you've been in that's you know, kept you down or I don't know what the word was you used, but something like that. Then you can say that this book is your ticket to those bigger opportunities that bring you freedom that we just said. So that's what I mean. This is how the messaging gets to be so much dialed
Mm.
in, and then somebody's going to know that's me when they read it. Make sense?
Yeah, that's really good. Hmm.
Yeah. Let me see if
Hmm.
there's one more thing I can tell you. Yes, I want to tell you
Hmm.
this too. So going to your about page, um, there, and there's one last thing after that I could probably get into real quick. Okay, so your about page. This is this is great. You've got your credentials and all of the things. And what I would counsel you on this when you're reworking this page is that
Yeah.
you have a great background. I don't know why you're telling me that. I'm being really
Mm.
blunt, right? Like, why do
Okay.
I care? And I don't mean me. I'm not trying to be mean. But if I am coming to your website and I don't know you, I say, wow, well, she looks like she's got a lot of stuff. That's awesome. I don't know why. I don't know how this helps me. How is this of benefit to me? So when we write our about section, we still have to be writing it
Mm.
about them and why. Like you can say something like, I've had X years of experience, and that's
Yeah.
how I know that you have this problem. Or I have worked with all of these clients just like you who have this problem, and so my credentials are like I'm losing my mind because in my words because it's late on my end over here and it's late in the afternoon. But yeah, so I have these credentials that are going to allow me to help you to do this thing you're
Mm.
really trying to do. Does that make sense? So it's
Yes.
about you, but it's not about you. It's about you, but it's about them. And the last thing I'm going to say here is as I went through the rest of things, this we're not going to look at that one because you're not
No.
doing that anymore. This is a
Mm-mm.
different website. You do have some
Mhm.
testimonials. Well, this was for your life coach thing. You got some articles, you got a newsletter, all of those things. Um, what I didn't really see in here, and we can go back to the homepage, and you've created this now, and I know you're going to put this in your new website, but again, this is for other people who are watching this. You don't have a signature framework methodology here. You have write a book, which is an offer. It
Mm.
ignites your life. That's an offer. But there's no framework in there that says, oh, Maymay came up with this thing that is proven, the proven framework to doing this. It's not, I'm not going to say that you absolutely have to have it, but man, it sets you apart when you do that.
Well, I have a your best-selling book publishing roadmap that's like a
Yes.
downloadable PDF, so you can
Okay.
get that for free. And I was thinking that
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to do was have that free offer with
Mm-hmm.
sign up for my email newsletter because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not capturing people's emails on this site, which I do on my professional site.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that count? Does that count
Well,
as a signature
that's
framework?
a that's a lead magnet. Let's come off share for a
Yeah.
minute. We can just talk face to
Okay.
face. So
Okay.
that's a
Okay.
lead magnet, which can have
Okay.
its own kind of mini framework, and that's fine. But it's not your signature way of getting people a transformation at a bigger level. Does that make sense?
Okay. And is that like the course that I take people through? I'm still
Yeah,
struggling.
it can be.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a
Okay.
methodology that you use inside that course that you know actually brings results to every time. It's a systematized way of doing something that you created because of your experiences and your work with prior clients, right? Is that a true statement?
Right. Yes,
Then
absolutely. 25 years of
is
experience.
that's a
Okay.
signature framework. Absolutely.
Okay.
But you call it
Okay.
out and you can say it that way. You can say, the story cure. It's my signature method, or it's my proven framework for taking these people through this process to get this transformation. Make sense?
Wow. Yeah, that is so helpful and such a radical reframe of how I was presenting that. That is really valuable. Thank you for
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So good. Well,
Yeah.
okay. So after having done that, how do you
Awesome.
feel?
I feel great. I mean, truly, this couldn't have been better timing for me. As I said, I was just looking at this like this is totally out of date. I mean, I only redid that like 3 years ago, and it's like totally out of date. But that's how life is, right? These
Yeah,
days.
absolutely.
And then thinking of it, that's something that I've come across a lot in blogs and podcasts that I've listened to. Is this whole thing of like it's always about your audience and what do they want? What are you doing for them?
Mm-hmm.
But even as you said, for even the about me section to make it about that.
Yes.
And then the signature framework. Okay. That's the thing too. Okay.
That was awesome. Well, I am
It
so
feels
glad that you're
very
feeling good
clear.
about
It
it.
feels very clear. Yeah, it feels very clear.
Good.
Feels very empowering. Yes.
Yes. Good. All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you for letting me do
Yeah.
this, and I hope I wasn't too harsh. Sometimes I'm
No.
just a little bit more blunt about my comments, so I was trying to be really, I was trying to make it so that it would come across in a nice way. So appreciate that.
Oh, no, no. I'm all for it. I truly have gone through this journey just saying I have so much to learn and I'm appreciate your expertise and you sharing your expertise with me, with my audience. So
Absolutely.
please tell us where we can find you and how we can follow up with you and avail of ourselves of these amazing services, Melissa.
Well, thank you for saying that because I actually created my own assessment that people can do on their own. So like what I just did for you, they can do they don't have to be on a live, show or whatever or like on a podcast to have it done. So it's called the Visibility Factor Assessment. And I'm going to give you the link for that. And you can drop it in the notes to the show, whatever. So it's a free self
Awesome.
assessment. It's designed to help you figure out how visible and credible your brand really is now and where you can, uncover those things that you might want to change so that you can get the right opportunities.
Wow.
Yes. And
Amazing.
what I'm going to do, what you'll see inside of that, it's going to walk you through key elements of your brand, your message, your audience alignment, visual presence, how you're communicating, what's working, what's holding you back. I also will be doing, I've got them set up now, visibility assessment workshops. And so if you get the download there, you'll get access to getting onto those workshops so that actually I can do one like this for you if you get into the workshop and you raise your hand to have one. So it's all part of that. I just want people to have this understanding because I think it's really people are very visual. So seeing it makes so much more sense than me just sitting here talking about it.
Amazing. How fantastic. Thank you for offering that. And I'm
Absolutely.
excited to see it.
Yeah.
Where do people find you? How do they find you? How do they find Melissa Henry and Hell of a Brand? What's your
Oh my
chosen
gosh.
platform, Melissa?
So I love LinkedIn. Never thought I'd say that, but I do now. So you can find me there, and it should just be Melissa Henry. If there's a million of them, I'm Melissa Demple Henry. I put my maiden name in the middle so people could find me. But that's how you can find me there. You can also take a look at, my landing page, which is hellova-brand.com. And incidentally, as I said, I will have a link here. So when you get the link to the assessment, you'll be able to find me, no problem.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. And I presumably people can sign up on your email newsletter too, right? Because
Absolutely. Yep.
that's another
In
great way
fact,
to stay in touch with you.
yeah, that's actually the way that they would get in is to go get one of the assessments. They'll be part of my email list at that point. Yep.
Perfect.
Hmm.
Perfect.
Yes.
Amazing. This is
Thank
so
you. Of
valuable, Melissa. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time and the effort that you put
course.
into this.
No, thank you for
And
having me.
I know that every author out there, I mean, there are the rare exceptions. There are the people who come to the course who they're entrepreneurs. They've already created their companies, they're already speaking, and they need the book as their final leg of that stool, the
Hmm.
three-legged stool.
Yes.
Um, but so there are some people coming already with all that in place, but the majority are not, and they're more at
Hmm.
the beginning phases of their journey.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll be
hopefully this will
happy
help.
to connect them to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, May May. We'll talk soon.
Okay,
Bye.
great talking to you. Bye bye.